Hey guys, welcome back to Where Do We Begin? I'm Jackson.
And I'm Harper.
And who have we got on the pod today, Harper?
Now, we've just recorded a couple interviews with a band, as we always do, a band called Analogue Hope. They're a Melbourneian band, kind of pop-punk kind of thing. So that was really enjoyable. Definitely stay tuned for that. They're first up. And who have we got next, Jackson?
And then we got a good mate of ours, both of ours. We've been involved in his futsal club for a few years. President and captain of the Carlton Heart Futsal Club, Chaaban Rajab, good mate of ours.
Whether you're an expert on futsal or you just want to know what goes on in like a bit of a minority, more of a niche sport than your Aussie rules, your cricket or something, definitely worth a listen because he's a captain and a president and a founder of a club and he's very involved in the whole scene in Melbourne. And we've also got a big giveaway as we do on the extra pods. Jackson, what are we giving away, mate?
So we're giving away 2019-2020 signed Everton shirt. So
it's like Everton, one of the biggest teams in the world. I could think you could easily say top 25 clubs. So, yeah, do you reckon that's a fair statement? Yeah, top 25. I would say that. Don't want to offend.
But at least top 50, definitely. But I don't know, because there's already like 25 teams in the Champions League every year. So
well, they're massively supported throughout the world, and I guarantee
huge. They definitely are huge.
There's lots of Aussie Everton fans listening just for this giveaway. I'm just showing the kit to Jackson right now on the Zoom. That's a bloody sexy kit, isn't it? It's a
very nice kit. I'm loving the Umbro. Huge fan of the Umbro.
Yeah, loving
they've obviously moved to Hummel this season, but it's the last Umbro kit. But yeah, definitely listen to the end of the podcast. We reveal how you can have a chance of winning this stunning piece of kit.
Yeah, it's authentic, real. It's a medium size, signed by the entire Everton squad of last season. So make sure you're staying tuned. And should we just rip straight into the show?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, now we've got some great guests on the show. A couple of guys from the Melbourne band, Analogue Hope. It's Sarah and Lachlan. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Cheers, heaps. How are you guys going?
How you going, guys? I know we're in lockdown here in Melbourne. How are you guys going in lockdown?
Oh, as good as you can, I suppose. Could be better, could be worse.
Yeah, it's an experience. I think there's been highs and lows. Like, definitely when it started, it was like, because I have very much an office job. It's like, yes, I don't have to go to work. This is brilliant. And then after a while, it's like, I actually have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know if I can manage my work like this. This is just too hard. So yeah, peaks and troughs. It's good at the moment though. Yeah.
So you still doing any what do you call it? It's like solo band practice, like just maybe recording something by yourself and putting them all together, anything like that, or nah?
Yeah. So Jamie and I. So Jamie plays bass in the band. I play guitar and sing, and Sarah plays drums. Jamie and I share videos of songs that we're writing or riffs or whatever with each other pretty regularly, and share that with a band chat frequently as well. But definitely, like as soon as that turns into some sort of song, share it with everyone and show Sarah. But yeah, there's a lot of guitar playing at home that gets shared on social, like group chats and things like that. Yeah, it's actually been incredibly productive, I guess, for writing that sort of stuff. Like between the two periods of isolation, we have like a bunch of like skeletons worth of songs that we're like super excited to take to a practice room and practice all together. Yeah, it's been good.
So tell us about the band, guys. How long have you been a group, and what sort of music do you do?
So how long we've been a band? I actually can't remember. It's not a very long period of time. It would be, less than a year, Sarah?
Yeah, less than a year, for sure.
Yeah.
Probably early... actually, maybe it has been a year. It has been a year.
So the isolation is like a black hole in my mind. That's months where we haven't done anything where we've also been a band.
It's all the same day.
Yeah. So Sarah and I played in a band before, which naturally fell away. But Sarah and I had tons of fun playing together, and we came from a similar background of like music, it would be fair to say, which like we both have other bands of our own that we like, but largely drawing from like pop punk and like mid 2000s, emo and skate punk sort of background. So Sarah and I were like, we need to keep writing as a band. I think our previous band, I was thinking about this the other day, our previous band was booked to play a launch show with, was it Since We Kissed?
High Finance.
High Finance. And you and I were like, let's just write a bunch of songs and try to do it with this new group. And then I think we got offered another show, which was like 2 weeks later. So we literally hadn't had a practice and accepted a show for like 2.5 weeks later or something. Remember that?
Yeah.
And we're like, let's just make it work. So we wrote the songs as a two-piece. We got a set list up, and Jamie, who plays bass for us, Jamie and I played in a previous band called Maricopa Wells for many years and adore each other. And I mean, I can go into detail on that, but basically he just joined us on bass. It was natural. We all liked the same sort of music, and it just went on from there.
Yeah, it flows really well. Like as soon as Jamie joined, it was just like there was no issues or anything. It was just straight in, and everything just evolved, which was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Jamie and I, and yeah, like the fit was like with Sarah, like Jamie and I had already written songs together, but with Sarah, like it couldn't be better. Like when Sarah and I wrote together at the start, it was very pop punky stuff, but Jamie naturally brings like, like an emo-ish sort of, a different collection of bands as reference to the mix. And Jamie and I have written songs together for many, many years, and like there's no one on earth, Jamie and I have a lot of fun writing music together, and to be able to do it again in this band is absolutely brilliant. So we were, I think, writing a little bit more distorted sort of harder edge stuff, and then Jamie came in, softened it all up, and we naturally found some sort of equilibrium, which is the newest songs that we're writing at the moment, which haven't been recorded yet, but will as soon as Isolation finishes. Yeah.
Yeah, so you talk about the whole emo, pop punk, skate punk kind of thing. Is there any specific band that you draw inspiration on? It's not a genre that I'm an absolute expert on, so can you tell me a bit about some inspirations?
I'd definitely say probably Taking Back Sunday, Newfound Glory, the bands like that, I reckon. What do you reckon, Locke? I reckon for me, bands like that.
Like for me, like my favourite band forever has always been like Jimmy Eat World, or so there's a huge Jimmy Eat World influence in this. Definitely like Blink and Newfound and stuff like that. There's definitely like some older influences coming through, like bands like Knapsack, I didn't even know existed, but like once I heard them, that's naturally the sort of, coolest sort of riffs that Jamie was doing. There's a little bit of like country influence, which doesn't come out in like vocals or necessarily guitar like riffs or anything, but just chord progressions and places where Jamie and I have come from. Bands like that, like mid 2000s, like Save Today, Jimmy Eat World, Newfound, Hot Water Music, bands like that. Yeah.
Shows our age a bit, I think.
Yeah.
So we've been in lockdown for almost 5 months now. It's really hard to think about, really. When was the last time you guys had a gig?
God, when was it? I think it was our show at the Tote, it would have been March, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it was March.
Yeah, which was really fun. I reckon it'll be March. What was I think Jamie and I played a duo. Was that before or after? No, that was before.
I think that was before. Yeah. Yeah, it would have been March was our last show, which is a bit of a shame, but definitely miss it.
It is.
So you said it was at the Tote. How good a venue is that?
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
One of your favourites?
I mean, in this current band, we've played there once.
Yeah, just
I
once.
think. Yeah, it's fun. Like I mean, anyone who goes and watches live music in Melbourne would know that the Toad's pretty iconic. Yeah, it was really cool. They looked after us. It's a really cool place.
Yeah, I don't know if Harper knows this, but I play for the Tote Footy Club. So
Oh, really?
I have a bit of an
cool.
affinity with the Tote. So
Yeah.
when I heard you say the Tote, I was just like, oh, yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Speaking of footy, you guys sports fans at all or nah?
Yeah. Watch a little bit of sport, so which is good.
Tell us a bit about that. You go for what sports?
I follow St Kilda in the AFL, and for once we're actually
Saints.
Yeah, I was going to say for once we're actually doing all right, and that's probably the one year that I don't even know if it counts, to be honest. But I love a bit of ice hockey as well, so I watch a bit of the NHL.
Oh.
Yeah, so I follow the Vegas Golden Knights in that. I grew up with a big soccer background, so I played it for probably 11 or 12 years growing up in Tassie, and then I just kind of, watched a bit of EPL and that kind of thing. But, apart from that, like, I'll watch anything, to be honest.
I grew up in New South Wales, so I guess a league background, or what I call league. So Newcastle Knights fan, but in Victoria, I mean, I was always a Sydney Swans fan from living there. So I still watch Sydney. I think I've lost touch a little bit, but I'm trying to pick it up the last year or two. I watch a lot of soccer. Big Liverpool fan. Newcastle Jets in A-League, and I watch a bit of motor racing as well. Predominantly F1, a little bit of supercars, just from my dad.
Yeah, fair enough. Newcastle Jets a couple of years ago, was it 2018? Had their first grand final up in Newcastle. I was lucky enough to get a ticket and go up as a Victory fan. Did you go to that or nah?
No, I didn't go to that. No, that would have been cool though. I think I have very fond memories of. It was around my birthday. I can't remember if it was one of the finals game. Was it maybe 2 years ago? Newcastle was playing. It was Victory, wasn't it?
It was Victory in the grand
final. Victory, but I'm 99% sure it was Victory. Yeah, so you would have beaten us to go through the grand. So 2-3 years ago, you beat us, went through. Victory a good side, but no one. Jets guy. Bloody Victory. Hey?
Yeah, I'm a Heart person. Well, City now, but
I was like, in terms of like a Melbourne A-League side, I was a Heart fan. I can't speak a lot about it just because I didn't spend a lot of time watching it before they, but yeah, I loved Heart, and I just couldn't get on board the City thing, and just. Yeah, I mean, I already watch Jets anyway, but I like to have a Melbourne side to watch in Victoria, but I sort of just went back to Newcastle. I couldn't stay on board with City.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, for me, it worked out well because I'm already a Manchester City fan, so I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So definitely a bit of rivalry in the band when it comes to EPL.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because I think Jamie's a Victory fan. So we always, have a bit of a go at each other, just, a bit of banter.
Jamie's Victory in Euro stuff. Jamie's a Liverpool fan. Yeah.
Oh,
that's right, yeah.
Sarah, all the listeners probably know, or they'll definitely know what had happened because they'll be listening to this after Monday. But tell us a bit about your thoughts about tomorrow's grand final.
Oh, mate, actually, I don't even know because I haven't been following it much at all this year. So, I couldn't even tell you. So, unfortunately, I really should know. But, sorry?
Will you be watching it?
Now that I know it's on, absolutely. I know I have been really terrible at actually following any sport at all this year. So, but yeah, I'll definitely watch it.
So I think we've had good chat about the band and good chat about sports. So we've asked you guys to join us for our traditional recommendation segment. You guys happy to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so if you're a regular listener to the show, we all suggest we're all on ISO at the moment, all on lockdown out here in Victoria. So we all suggest some music that we've been into and a TV show, a movie, and then just anything else that's been keeping us entertained. So, Jackson, do you want to go first with some music? It's been pleasing you recently?
Well, I've just been getting back into all the playlists I have, and like especially at work, we had because no customers at work, we just made a playlist to play over through the store. So we haven't really been I haven't really been investing a lot in music, but I started a new podcast recently. It's he contacted us about possibly getting on the show. So if he's listening, email us back. It's called A Yank on the Footy. So it's an American guy who just fell in love with AFL, and I just like to hear his sort of thoughts, like as an American who knows a lot about, like who found out a lot about the sport and like actually learnt about it, instead of all these Americans who pick it up for the first time and they're pretty famous of just like, oh my god, how can I know about this and this and this? But this guy's actually done the research and actually can do like actual analysis and all that stuff. It's pretty interesting to listen to.
Yeah, cool. I'm trying to get into podcasts. Do you listen to podcasts, Sarah?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What do you listen to?
I listen to The Downbeat, which is hosted by Craig Reynolds.
Before you say anything, I'm going to assume that's a drumming podcast.
It started off as just a drumming podcast, but he interviews a ton of musicians now.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, it's hosted by the drummer of Straight from the Path.
Sarah plays drums in the band, but Sarah is obsessed with drums. Sarah and breathes, lives and plays drums.
You don't get it, look. It's it is my life.
Yeah.
How did you get into drums? Is it something from when you were a kid or more recent?
Yeah, I played drums when I was at school, which was a long time ago now, but I never had a kit, so it was always just like, you know, during music class or at lunchtime I'd go into the band room and have a bit of a play. But then I didn't play again for years after that, maybe like 8 years. And then I moved up to Melbourne around 6 years ago now. And my best mate, who moved up from Tassie as well a little while later, he's a drummer and he got me back into it. So yeah, I just started playing drums through him, and then I started getting lessons with Dan Kirby, who's the drummer in Bliss and Esso, 28 Days, those kind of bands. And yeah, so now I've been playing for 3 years, I think. So yeah.
Just getting back on track though. Lockie, tell us about some music you've been listening to in the last few weeks of lockdown.
Yeah, so I think I mean, historically I've always listened to like a lot of punk bands and then country bands, but the last couple of months, I was introduced to an American singer called Laura Stevenson. It's like folky, sort of poppy. I think she played with Jeff Rosenstock on the music industry for a period of time, but she's a solo artist in her own right, and she's amazing. And I'm pretty late to the parade, but Phoebe Bridgers, if you listen to Phoebe Bridgers, like her new record Punisher is amazing. But all of her stuff is brilliant. Like, I think from someone who sings, like listening to someone like her, like she's so soft. And that's just, yeah, I don't know if this makes sense to anyone, but sometimes when you're writing songs, you're like, oh, I need to project a little bit more. But her best, like all the magic happens in that like soft, low register, and there's no need to get loud or yell. They're just prettiest songs in the universe, and they're just so soft and they're perfect. So Phoebe Bridge is hands down like absolute someone that I came on to just a short period of time ago and I absolutely adore. So Phoebe and Laura, they're probably the two most recent things I'd say. Yeah.
Speaking of the opposite of not getting too loud and yelling, we actually had a band called Rock and Volts. We had a chat with them, but unfortunately couldn't go to air. And they're kind of very hard rock, pub rock, Aussie Melbourne band. So I was telling them my recommendation was a live album. It was live at River Plate, AC/DC. So that's in Argentina. It was from 2009, I believe. And like you watch some YouTube videos of that and it's like insane. There's people going absolutely nuts. Like the atmosphere in Argentina is just crazy. And some particular highlights from that live album, Shoot to Thrill, that really good performance of that, and Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. That was really good. So if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely recommend giving that live album a listen. Sarah, have you got a particular song or album that you'd recommend?
I think I've been spinning it to death, actually. Polaris's most recent one, which is The Death of Me, I think it's called. That is a phenomenal album. Another one that I've been listening to, North Lane, just put out a live album. It was recorded at what's it called? Is it the Roundhouse in Sydney?
Yeah, right.
That was called. Yeah.
Very
So
fond
it was
memories.
recorded there.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, they're great if you like heavy music. But I think there's a few classic albums that I always go back to. Like you can't really go wrong with a bit of classic Blink. That's one I always go back to.
I was just telling my housemate before while I was gearing up to come upstairs, and I said to her, I'm like, I've never really had an interest in playing other people's songs, but Enema of the State I can play, I think, 75% of, and maybe I should just learn the rest of the songs and do like an Enema of the State thing. Like Blink's they're all time.
Can't go wrong.
I should quickly mention, so with the Rocking Vault episode that didn't go to air, I did mention, I'll just use my recommendation from that one. So during the first lockdown, I really got into it. It had been out for a while, but I was listening to the new Stormzy album, which is, so I'm pretty into the grime and all that sort of rap sort of thing. But his album, it's just a lot of different genres that he's trying to get into. Like he sings in this, like you don't really hear that from a grime artist a lot. You don't hear them sing, but he sings in this. He has a few tunes with Ed Sheeran that are pretty funky and have a bit of reggae vibes. So if anyone's sort of interested in that, like hearing a bit of difference from a grime artist, not really just the really fast bars sort of thing, that Stormzy album is a very good listen.
Nice.
What is just for my learning? What do you mean by grime? What is that?
So grime is sort of British rap. Instead of like it's a little bit harder, a little bit faster. Instead of like, you know, the traditional American rap, like the Tupac and all that stuff, where there's sort of low sort of beats, slow sort of rapping, whereas like the grime goes a little bit faster. It has a little bit more like Afro beat in there.
Yeah, got it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I definitely recommend checking out Stormzy.
I listened to... So what? I'm just looking on my phone. So Heavy as the Head is the newest album. I listened to that when it came out, and I think the one before, I only listened to it like once or twice, but I genuinely liked it. I had this tiny little dalliance with rap, and I think maybe it was from a lyrics point of view, or like I'm not sure how I got into it, but like I'm not wrong in saying like he's pretty like revered, isn't he? Like he's
he's a pretty good guy. Like if you just hear interviews with him, he's not like I'm gonna go spend money on prostitutes and all this stuff. He's genuinely like a pretty wants to care for the community and all that stuff. So if you listen to Crown, which is the headline song of that album.
Yeah.
He sings, and it's very emotional. And then you go to I'm just trying to think of all the other songs in that album, but there's another one where it's very hard, and I think one of them is a diss track to another artist. So he can go from being very emotional to being very I'm gonna end your career, basically.
Yeah,
and he's definitely helped it go more mainstream as well. More
than definitely.
I knew nothing about grime before he came along, and now he's got some good songs. I think probably his most well known one. Would you agree, Jackson? Vossi Bop.
Yeah, Vossi Bop. That is a tune. I'm a big fan of Vossi Bop.
Yeah, I think we should move on to our next section though. TV shows or movies. Just a TV show or movie that you've been getting into, maybe binge watching if it's a TV show in the last few weeks. Sarah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really watch that much TV, but the new season of Wentworth has just started, so I've been watching that, which is pretty cool. It's it's based off an old TV show. I think it was called Prisoner. I don't know if you guys know much about it, but yeah, it's pretty good. I don't want to really go into it in case I spoil it for anyone who hasn't caught up. But, that's probably the only show I've been watching lately.
Lachlan, what about you?
So many. I watch really terrible movies that people. I have this. Yeah, it's a joke to other people, but to me it's very serious. People would say that Adam Sandler movies only got worse. I would say they got exponentially better. Just
I don't know, Locke.
It's a big call.
It feels like I just watch really silly movies. I love Adam Sandler movies. I love Fast and Furious. I love just really silly stuff. But it's just the best. In terms of TV shows, I've been watching The Sopranos lately, which is epic. I've been watching iZombie, which is on Stan, which is I think the same producer as Victoria. What's her name? Veronica Mars. I think it's the same producer as Veronica Mars, or somehow linked to Buffy or Veronica Mars or something. It's this girl who gets turned into a zombie but doesn't want to kill people, so eats brain. She gets a job at a local whatever that place is called where you process dead bodies, and eats their brains but absorbs their memories and helps some police officer solve crimes. It's awesome. It's really cool. I watch a lot of stuff, but a lot of terrible, terrible stuff.
Jackson, how about you, mate?
So, as a lot of people, just seeing Seinfeld on TV for years and years and years, just seeing episodes here and there, I was looking on Stan for something to watch, and I was just I've never really watched through Seinfeld, so I've just started Seinfeld. I think I've done 3 seasons in 2 days, which is normal for some people, but yes, I'm watching through Seinfeld. It's just pretty funny, just seeing all these sort of memes that I've seen through the years. Just, that's that episode. All right, cool. Now I know it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Harper, what about you, man?
Seinfeld, definitely well worth a watch, but I was going to recommend, I'd recommended it in the Rock and Volts one that didn't go to air again. Black Mirror. I'm sure you guys have all heard of that, I reckon. It's kind of dystopian sci-fi. It's a British show. So it's got all kind of technology that's not too far in the future. It seems like it could be realistic in 10 years or so, but it's just an absolute dystopian world. So it's just some crazy, depressing stuff going on. But it's really, really good. Every episode, the episodes aren't related to each other at all, but every episode, well worth a watch. Can't think of one that I haven't enjoyed. It's got 5 seasons and 22, 23, I want to say, that amount of episodes.
Yeah.
So definitely recommend that. And anything else that you've got, Sarah, that you'd recommend for ISO?
No, not really. I mean, I play a little bit of Xbox and stuff like that. I always go back to Dark Souls all the time. I don't know if you guys have played it, but it's a commitment. But oh my god, it's probably one of the best games ever, I would say. It's a adventure kind of style game. and you just get dropped into, like, when you first started, you just get dropped into the world, and they're pretty much like, all right, go for it. No map, no nothing. And it's just, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I had a friend recommend that to me, actually, so might have to give it a look. Sounds pretty good. But what about you, Jackson, for something that's been keeping you entertained?
Well, literally nothing, because I've just been at work all week. So when I get home from work, I'm pretty tired. So I either chuck on Seinfeld or play a bit of Football Manager. Actually, no, I've been playing Fall Guys a lot recently. I don't know if any of you have a PlayStation 4, but it's a game that came out basically for free. And it's just like a battle royale to try and get your little guy to the end of this fucking obstacle course. It's like Wipeout, but like on a video game.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's cool. Me, so ISO activities, yeah. My ISO activity, I'll say two, which feeds probably into the other TV shows I was watching. I'm a huge CrossFit fan, a couple of movies on CrossFit, Redeem and Dominant, one of them, which is epic. So, yeah, I have a bunch of stuff that I got from CrossFit Docklands where I go to, which is in the garage. So I definitely do normal CrossFit still at home, which I love. And then the very polar opposite of something as healthy as CrossFit is I just really like drinking wine and making bread products. Like, and I was talking to my girlfriend about this. Like, apparently it was a joke about, like, people learning how to make sourdough and stuff like this. I didn't even realise it was happening to me, but I learned how to make bread. I started making bagels, made pasta. I sent you videos of, like, me rolling out pasta, Sarah. Like,
looked pretty good.
Anything to do with wheat and wine with some music on is definitely a big ISO activity of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, and for something that's not music or TV show or movie or anything like that, it's a podcast. I would like to say it's kind of similar to our own. It's called That Peter Crouch Podcast. You guys have, as big Premier League fans, you probably would have heard of Peter Crouch, I'm guessing.
Heard of him, don't know. Yeah.
And so he's recently retired, but in the last few seasons of his career and following his retirement, he teamed up with like a journalist and like a radio DJ, something like that. And they started off just interviewing other footballers or coaches, but now they just branch out into everything. They actually had Prince William on the show for their season finale the other day.
There you go.
Yeah, so that was actually pretty entertaining. Prince William, I'm not too much of a monarchist, I'm not really into that kind of stuff, but Prince William, entertaining guys, got some good banter about him. So definitely recommend it, That Peter Crouch Podcast. But just quickly, actually, how can people check out the band on socials or online, anything like that?
Yeah, we're on. We've got all the socials covered, basically. So Facebook and Instagram. Our music's up pretty much everywhere as well. So Spotify, Apple Music. We're on Bandcamp as well. So feel free to check that out. Got some merch up on Bandcamp as well if you end up digging our tunes and want to support us. But yeah, that's where we are.
Guys, we've got to move on to our next guest. We're quickly running out of time.
Yep.
So big thank you for coming on, guys.
Cheers for having us.
Guys.
So much for having us.
And joining us now, our next guest, who's a good friend of mine and a teammate over many years, good old Chaaban Rajab. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate, for a few years, but I think not enough court time together. Am I right, Jackson?
I think at the tournaments, I think we had a lot of game time together. As you know, a good mate of mine. I consider myself a tournament player, so he's playing a lot of the tournaments together.
Impact player. The original Impact player. I don't know how Scott Young took your title, but...
I know, literally. I know, how does no one know this? But yeah, so we're just we're having you on the pod because you have a massive influence over Futsalers, a place we both play at. Harper and I, all three of us, we play at. So we just want to learn about how you got started in futsal and how you started the club known as Carlton Heart.
Okay. I'll just the first question, I think, to start with. How I got started in futsal. I was playing at Brunswick City outdoor soccer. I think I was under 16. So not sure exactly how it happened, but I ended up playing with a bunch of those guys who asked me to come. I was goalkeeper back then. Asked me to come fill in futsal. So I did, and apparently, which I only found out recently, the league we were playing in was known as B League back then. So a lot of the games you see, you would have seen the Brunswick logo on my poster. We were Brunswick. It was me and a couple other 15, 16-year-olds getting slapped every week by a bunch of really good players. So, hey, yeah, that's how I got into futsal. I just loved it from the start, actually. And over time, at one point, I broke my wrist and I couldn't goalkeep anymore. So I just started playing. So it's amazing how things work out that way, but that's how it happens. In regards to Carlton, I was playing with Alstonwick in the B League at one stage, and I still have my social league team with Jose, Nathan, Janeet, a lot of those guys, JP, Mac. We were a very good social league team. We'd made the grand final a few seasons in a row. And at Alstonwick, we just got promoted from State League to V League with, the boys, Steve Nicolaitis, Kurt Marotta, Lauren Sadowski, those guys, George Panner, Andrew Schoolos, all the boys. So halfway through the season, League One started. So League One started it was the first ever season of League One, and Theo Lascaris, the old manager of the league back then, I'm not sure if he's the commissioner or not, but he asked me to put my social team in to play as Carlton, which I did without myself. They played the first 6 games without me. I was still in B League. And they'd lost the first 6 games. So I made a promise to them that if they were struggling, I'd come and join them. They lost the first 6 games. So after that, it was the transfer period, halfway through the B League season. And the rest was history. And just to toot my horn a little bit, we lost the first 6 games. And once I joined, we didn't lose a game for the rest of the season. So there you go.
So how long ago was that, did you say?
That would have been 2012. I started playing in the first ever season, which was 2006, 2007 for Futsal. But I started playing for Carlton 2012. That's when we started,
Yeah, so obviously Futsal and Carlton Heart's evolved heaps since then. It's evolving all the time, getting bigger and bigger. And now, how many SFV titles have Carlton won? 3, is it? Or 2?
Yeah, three back to back, which I think we're only the second team to ever to manage that. But it was awesome. It was an awesome period in the club. There were a lot of good people around. So trying to replicate it is tough. Jackson knows that it took not just talented players, but it took a great culture. We had an amazing culture, and hopefully, and you'd know too, Harper, you were part of the club during that time, where I think everyone at the club at that time felt a part of the club, from seniors to juniors. Everyone felt connected. So that was, it was amazing. And we won a Series Futsal Australia in that time too, which was an amazing achievement for the team.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that being like a great club culture. I think a lot of teams are trying to replicate that now, just the way we were at that time. So go into that sort of that period where we got relegated and then we came back up. So can you explain how you sort of rebuilt the club, being the president and the captain?
It was, again, a lot of things went well for us. I think even though we were getting relegated, I think one of the main catalysts for us was when we went up to Byron Bay. Peter took a bunch of us under the Carlton name, along with, we had Scott and Cosby, still very young at that time. And Peter gave us a style of play to play, and which we sort of took on board for the rest of the Carlton, Carlton dynasty, that 3-season dynasty where we won. So just before we got relegated, that happened. And then obviously we had a few players that left the club, being Khaled, Moyash, Joaquin, and Cam Holmes at that time, which was it was a blow, but also an opportunity, because they allowed us. I think that's when you started to get some game time yourself, Jack. Zach Arte came into the club at that time, HD, and they left the room. So And Frank came in. Ernie did a great job, brought in Frank as a manager, and the rebuild started from there. So we'd already signed players, signed young players going into the State League season. So when we got relegated, it was a challenge, but we were confident. Frank had stamped his style down, that belief. Again, Jackson, we had belief week in, week out. We could have been 3-0 down 3 minutes ago, and we still would have come up trump. So that's a sort of belief Frank instilled in the Carlton club. But I think that State League season was so important because we didn't just win it, we annihilated it. And I mean, I'd say really stood up. He really showed himself that season. Tambo and Nam, who it was their first season with us as keepers, great signings as well, gave him a lot of confidence, and I think we lost one game for that season. Which again, it was quite an achievement. So obviously, not many people know this. Some people would have seen, but I think we lost a game to Gorlin when we were up in Mount Evelyn before we got relegated, and I didn't talk to anyone after the game. I just sat there in the grandstands crying. That's how much it meant to me. So being able to bounce back so quickly was so important for myself, and I'm sure a lot of people on the team shared that sentiment, which is great.
Yeah, so the people that don't know about Futsal Oz and Series Futsal, obviously a lot of our listeners will be listening from that, but tell us a bit about the structure and the professionalism and all the different elements of the Series Futsal.
Yeah, culture. I guess one really positive thing about Futsal Oz really is the promotion relegation structure, which a lot of other futsal leagues have struggled to emulate, and even the A-League, as we all know. That's the I think what's driven Futsal Oz. We've got teams at the very top, Series Futsal, right through to State League 3, and you have teams like Carlton, Regent, Camberfield, who all started off as social league teams at one point or another, and ended up playing in Series Futsal. So that's the great thing about the Series Futsal structure, that there is an elite structure. So we have Series Futsal State League right down to League 3, so leagues underpinning that. And then there's that option. We have our Premier Leagues across the 3 centres, and teams have the ability to get promoted from social leagues into higher leagues. So there's about 4 or 5 divisions on every single night at Futsal Oz, ranging from juniors to seniors. So amazing setup there, and it's not just about futsal. The thing is, what we do well is that we connect people, and we keep it competitive. So first of all, having so many teams allows us to place teams in a comfortable league where they're not getting smashed every week, or they're not smashing teams every week. So that helps keep the teams interested, I guess. But also, we're really good at connecting people. We do a lot of videos, a lot of highlights, a lot of social media. People like yourselves do great stuff with these podcasts nowadays. So it's amazing that the opportunities and the friendships you make and the relationships you can develop there. And we provide those sort of platforms for people to do. So that's the main thing, And we have our presentation nights now, and people do get-togethers, and it's not just about futsal. It's about a lot more than futsal at Futsal Oz, that's for sure.
Yeah, more than definitely. So do you want to talk about the culmination of that sort of dynasty was the Series Futsal Australia title. Do you want to talk about how many hours of sweat, blood and tears you put into that, like winning the 3 leagues, failing at the last 2 SFAs in the semi-finals and the quarterfinals, I think it was? Semi-finals in both, all culminating into that Series Futsal Australia
win. For me, obviously, like I said, it started in 2012 when Carlton started. So for me, it was when we first got promoted to V-League, we had like a little taste of not success, but almost. We finished runners-up to Pascoe Vale in our first ever, in our, I guess, promotion season. We got promoted, finished runners-up, and but it gave us a taste, and we were one of the first teams, bar Pascoe Vale and the Vipers, I'd say, to be training consistently week in, week out. Actually, we started training from when we got to the State League. So we were training week in, week out. So that's what it meant to me, that I knew where I wanted to go. I knew where I wanted Carlton to be at that time. I didn't want us to be just a hang-around their team. You've seen teams like Metro, Ashburton, Hume, been there for a long time and haven't been able to win the league. So that's where it started for me. But once we got relegated and then got promoted, I think people really started to jump on board. Frank put a lot of effort into me personally as leader. Ernie put into a lot of effort into everyone, more effort into training. And we had Joey Conroy join our committee. The girls, Ella, Celia, Rebecca Drew, they were key at that time as well. But yeah, like you said, we were dominant in the league, but for whatever reason it came to SFA and we just weren't able to put it together. We got knocked out in 2 semi-finals back to back in Adelaide and in Brisbane. I think on both those occasions we the first one definitely, we went in with an undermanned team. We lost Ben Rigby and a couple others before we went up there. The one in Brisbane, that was also tough. We lost to a Western Sydney team which had Andre Caro, Joel De Silva, and I think Samim Rahimi or something like that. So we lost it to a team that was really built up of the Pascoe Vale. Pascoe Vale didn't qualify that season. So that was a real bummer for us as well. But yeah, the one we won in Melbourne, it was great. And I think it took a lot of energy. We knew we were going to lose Arte and Zach that season. So they told us a few weeks earlier. And so we sort of knew this was really our last crack at it. We had Jeff Byrne and Rebecca Davies coaching, and Frank, who hadn't coached that season, had come along to support us for SFA. So a lot of people came in to that last season and to really and to that SFA to really emphasize that, this is going to be our last chance for a little bit. Let's make it count. And we absolutely did that. We made a great call with signing Ryan Timmins, I think, as well, to that SFA. And, it was very relieving. Probably pinnacle of Carlton at the moment, they're winning SFA. It was very humbling to win that. And what was more humbling, I think, after it, people I hadn't heard from for 5 or 6 years were messaging me, congratulating me. So, because they understood how long we've been working for this, and it was great to have that respect from people as well.
Yeah, because anyone who knows you is you are live and breathe Carlton, realistically. And it's great to see. Like, you want that passion when it comes to these sports. I can say from personal experience that SFA, I think we just had more of a well-oiled machine
Definitely.
As a team compared to the Adelaide and Brisbane. Like, I think we were very young in Adelaide. I think we did have the experienced players, but then a lot of our coming off the bench were very young and not very used to.
And absolutely, just sorry to cut you off. You touched on it right there. People forget how young we were. Besides Ernie, so in our first SFA, I was 27, and Ernie would have been about 30, and everyone else was probably 22, 23 or younger. That's a really young squad to, first of all, win a league and then be competing in SFA against a lot more senior players.
Yeah, literally. I think in Adelaide we came against the Giovanelli brothers, who have been playing for Australia for years and years and years. And then in Brisbane, again, sort of a young team. I think the two recruits we made were Tamel, who was still 18, 19, 20 at that time, and Michele Salvi. But then the third one, I think we sort of got a real mature. We were like, no, this is sort of the last dance, if you will. And that one, even in the games where you, Ernie, Arturo didn't play, we still smashed teams. I think we played against Jeps Cross and we won 8-0 with a team of relatively substitute players. So it was just a matter of we could have, if you were out, I think you were out because you were injured or just couldn't make that game. So we put everyone else in and we could still get a result. So I think that...
And it really speaks for the depth we had for 3 seasons. We didn't come together for SFA, but the depth we had for 3 seasons. I said a lot of the time that a lot of our bench players, or even some of our players that weren't getting games, could have probably walked into any other Series Futsal side and really either start or at least be a contributing member off the bench. So, it really speaks to the sort of depth we had, that Jeff's Cross game where, like you said, a lot of us didn't actually play,
I think SFV and Futsal Oz, it's obviously SFV an elite league, and in some ways, in a lot of ways, it's got more organisation to it. It looks more organised than the A-League from the outside. It just looks very professional and slick, everything like that. But as the president and as well a player of Carlton, I've always been curious for the senior team, how do you go about like recruitment? Is it always people come to you or you go to them, or how much of each side is it?
I'll get to that in a sec, but just back to the organisation, I think that's just a product of caring. The people that I think look after the A-League don't care. Their main goal is immediate profit. They're not there for the long term. They're not there for long-term profit. Even long-term profit would be better than short-term profit. They're there for short-term profit. Get out of there. So that's what's going wrong with the A-League. The A-League's not about the people behind it. They're business people. They're not football lovers. They're not sport lovers. They're there for themselves. So I think that's the difference between Futsal Oz and the people that run the clubs. You see people like B-Man, Q, myself, Andre. We're not there to make money. We're there because we love the game. So that's why that works so well. Your question in terms of players and approaching players, it's a bit of both. You never really want to bring a player into the club that's not going to obviously take someone else's position, right? You really, I think we've only approached players a few times to come to the club. Rico was one of them. Ben Rigby was one of them. Trying to think of anyone else. In general, I sort of approached us to come to play for us. So it's just about, it's a mix, the main thing before that is developing relationships. The squad I built over the years was relationships. Arte messaged me. Zach was brought in by one of his friends. So it's not, I'm not sure, Jackson, I can't even remember how you came to Carlton. Would you remember? Did I ask you? Did you ask me?
I think I was playing at Ashburton at the time, and I think you sort of saw that we weren't training or anything, and I think I trained with you, and then you sort of asked me to come and be on the bench one day.
There you go. So that's how it sort of developed, Harper. It's never, you never really make a decision there and there on the spot. Sometimes you'll get together, make a list of what you need, but other times you'll just let I guess the players work themselves out. They know if they want to play for you or not. And sometimes, the players do it for me. Lockie Ramadan, I didn't ask him. A couple of the boys were talking to him, and in the end, they said he wants to come play for us. So that's how that happened. Like, it's never, Tom played with us in Nationals, and I said to him, there's a position after this if you want to come, and he came. So, yeah, we don't really make that decision. It's just, I guess, in the conversation. Just happens sometimes. I know it's not the answer you're looking for, but that's really how it is. We're not like Moreland. We don't really target players. But I guess Moreland does the same thing, but we don't have the money to just say, this is what we can offer you, we need you, sort of thing. So, yeah, we have a strong belief that the system works with whoever you got as long as they're willing.
One last question on Carlton. So you said it started with a men's team, just a men's senior team in 2012. It's 2020. How big has the club got within not just the senior men's, but in all the way down? How big has the club got?
Yeah, pre-coronavirus, if I remember correctly, I can't remember exactly. It was 20-odd teams, something like that. Juniors, 16s, 21s, men, women, women's youth. It's it grew so fast. And again, just the platform Futsal Oz has given us to grow has been amazing. So, and it gives people opportunity. I know I didn't have that opportunity as a kid. I had to force my way into teams, force my way to play, create my own team to play at the end of the day. And, these kids now have an opportunity because even, perfect example is someone like you. You've been in the system for a long time, Jacko, and went through Ashburton, didn't work for you. Went through Carlton, sort of worked for you now. And Preston, I think you really broke out. And I think you're at Fitzroy now, sort of. So what an opportunity that is, And how old are you now, Jacko? 22? 22. So, mind you, I didn't. My first season in Carlton, I was 22 years old in League One. So, it gives people that time, keeps you in the game. Whereas I think if you were in that situation back then, you might not have got an opportunity with several different clubs. So, I think it's great that system we have now that clubs can really build, and the clubs that have juniors and have such a broad system and opportunity for younger players, they're the ones that will thrive in the long run. You see Carlton, Fitzroy, Pascoe have been up there for a long time now, and I think any other club that doesn't do that really sets themselves up to make it difficult, not to fail, but just makes it difficult for them to keep up for a long time.
Again, I can sort of attest to that, being part of the junior sort of system, coaching for Carlton for a few years, and actually coaching Harper for a while there. That it's just, it's great to see these kids have such a passion in the club that realistically was only 5 or 6 years old at that time, but have the passion to play for that club, wanting to play for that club, and just wanting to go up to that club is amazing.
They work out at some point that they can't play, but they can coach. So they end up coaching, again, we connect people. You guys have become connected. You guys have your own podcast, which is great. You're all involved in some way or other. So the system allows for all types of people, all types of talents, all types of interests to still be connected through the one sport, which is amazing.
Now, I guess moving on to not so much you're playing and coaching of sport, but you're supporting of sport. We hear you're a big Everton fan.
Oh, yeah, love Everton. A bit frustrated a couple seasons for the last couple seasons, but since probably around the Cahill era, I've been a huge fan since then, for sure.
So is that how you got into Everton, the Cahill era?
Yeah, essentially. It wasn't specifically Cahill. I remember switching on, there was Everton versus Chelsea, and I recognised Cahill, and that game he scored an overhead scissor kick in the 89th minute to equalise the game. And then I watched them the next week, and I think they played Manchester United, and they beat Manchester United. I'm like, seems pretty good, and I kept watching them, and I just fell in love with them. They were a great side. They finished top 4 that season. They finished 4th, but missed out on Champions League because Liverpool were defending champions and took their spot. We had to go through Europa League, through qualifications and lost, but it was amazing. The play, it was good quality players. The team they had was built around the money they made from selling Wayne Rooney. We brought in Lee Carsley, Tim Cahill, as I mentioned, Stephen Pina, Arteta, good players, Gravison. So we had a pretty good team back then, and it's a shame we never got to play Champions League.
Yeah, we've actually got an Everton-related giveaway that we'll talk about at the end of the show.
Oh, awesome.
But tell us, what do you make of Everton coming up this season, 2020, 2021, this season?
Look, I like Ancelotti. I think that's the first time since Moyes we've had a coach that I actually like, because we've often signed managers, I should say managers, who don't have experience in success, really. And if you sign managers who don't have success, then you set yourself up for mediocre performances. And we've seen that over the last few seasons. We've got a lot to do in terms of signings. I think what Moyes did really well, he signed mainly younger players who he saw talent in that no one really else saw. what a lot of managers have done since then is signed recycled players. And you really don't want to be bringing in too many recycled players time and time again. And, if you are going to do that, you've got to play a really good brand of football, and that hasn't been Everton. They've been pretty boring style of football last couple of seasons. That's probably been the most frustrating. I don't mind my team losing, but the way you lose tells a different story, that's for sure.
Also, I know you're a big Carlton man.
Yes.
And especially tomorrow, we got the big rivalry game tomorrow.
Yeah. Yes,
it'll be Monday when this is released. So we're recording this on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So we'll know the result by the time this is released. But for now, it's a big rivalry game. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm actually, and you're welcome to join me, boys. If you want, I'll post a link on my Facebook page. Anyone that wants to join my Google Meets, and because we can't get together and watch it, obviously, have a few beers and watch the game, you're welcome to. This is the biggest game we've been involved in for a long time. Last couple of weeks have been big for us against Gold Coast Fremantle. But if we beat Collingwood, we have a chance in the A. I know, Jackson, my missus is a Collingwood supporter too, so I've told her she's got to watch the game upstairs. I'll beat the other big screen. Again, and it goes same thing as what I was saying about Everton. The most frustrating thing about Carlton before Teague was boring football. Since Brett Radden, we've played boring football, and it was bad to watch. It was hard to watch. I was a member through our first 3 wooden spoons, and I went to almost every game because even though we were losing, it was good football. It was entertaining. We had Favola still. Eddie Betts was with us back then. We're still playing good football, but that hasn't been the case up until Teague's takeover. So yeah, it's exciting times. Win or lose, I'm sure it'll be a good brand of football that we play.
Yeah, definitely watching just that Gold Coast game last week is very good to watch. Especially having Eddie back, I think it's helped you guys a lot. Just get that experience back in.
Yeah.
That's one thing you sort of lacked is high profile experience. Like you had the guys who were there for years and years and years, but just that sort of Eddie Betts sort of influence has been really good for you guys.
Yeah, his leadership's been great, no doubt. I'm not involved in the club myself, but you can always tell that he doesn't need to have a good game to have an influential game, if that makes sense. He's always smiling. He's always giving advice. I guess you can see him getting around his teammates. So it's good to have, and with Cripper's still a young leader, I guess. So you've got Simo and Doc as well. So good leadership group they've built there now, and Eddie Betts just adds to that.
So I'm not sure if you've listened to the show before, Charles, but Jackson will know we do a bit of a quiz at the end of the show. So you ready for that, you guys?
I'm never ready, but we can try anyway.
So I've got 8 questions on this one. So they're all... actually, I'd say this one's pretty general knowledge. So it's just you two going to be going up against each other. Your name's your buzzer. And Jackson's on a bit of a hot streak at the moment. I think he's got 2 or 3 in a row.
All right.
So look out for him. But first question. So Ronald Koeman has managed Everton and Barcelona, your 2 football teams. Can you name 2 of the 9 other teams he's managed?
Jackson. Southampton and the Dutch national team.
Yes, that is correct. And so the most recent ones were Southampton, Everton, the Dutch national team, and Barcelona. So, and before that, he was coaching Vitesse, Ajax, Benfica, PSV, Valencia, AZ Alkmaar, and Feyenoord. So,
I should have known that, actually. I actually knew both that he coached the Dutch team and Southampton. I didn't think about it quick enough.
Yeah, he had a great playing career as well, I believe.
I watch The Chase daily, and I'm always so good at it. If I don't do well on this, my missus is going to give it to me because I told her I should go on this show. So
it's always different when you're on the show.
Cracking show. I'm a big fan of that.
It is a cracking show. It's awesome to test your general knowledge, but I even applied for it. So if I don't do well here, I'm going to break my application. So we'll see how it goes.
As soon as I turn 18 next year, I'm applied straight for that show because I kill it when I watch it on the TV every time. Anyway, question 2. So can you tell me which entertainment company was forced to change its name due to a dispute with the Worldwide Fund for Nature?
Yeah, World Wrestling Federation, WWE.
Yeah, the
With the
WWE now is
World
correct.
Wildlife Foundation, yeah. You that one.
He's leveled it up. It's 1-1. We'll move on. Question 3. Can you tell me a bit of a historical one? Who was the Empress of India from 1876 until her death on the Isle of Wight in 1901?
I literally don't know. I'm no good at my history.
The Isle of Wight, it's part of Great Britain. That might give you a bit of a clue. I'll tell you, it's Queen Victoria.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The India threw me off.
Anyway, 1-1.
No idea.
Question 4. In 2009, Heath Ledger became the second performer ever to be given a posthumous acting Oscar for his role in the... Go for it.
The Joker and Batman Dark Knight.
That is incorrect. I'll finish the question. Jackson's got 3 hits. So he is the second performer to be given a posthumous acting Oscar for his role in The Dark Knight. What award did he win?
Ooh, is it Best Supporting Actor?
That is correct.
Damn.
On ahead. It's 2-1.
It was worth a crack.
Question 5.
Yeah, worth it. It was definitely worth it.
Question 5, boys. You guys don't work in maths too much at the moment, but were you any good at maths in school?
Nah, not really.
Well, I'll ask it anyway. Question 5. What is the 5th prime number?
A Sharps.
Sharps.
10.
10 is incorrect.
Damn.
Jackson, 14.
14 is also incorrect. It's 11.
Oh, what's prime number? Numbers that can't be divided by 2?
A prime number is a number that can only be divided by 1
and itself. Yeah.
So I think you've got like 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11, the 5th. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's how it goes. But question 6. Jackson, you're ahead 2-1. Which rapper was born Balkalis Marlenis Almanzar?
Sharps.
Sharps.
Akon.
Incorrect.
Oh, wait, can you say that name again?
Balkalis Marlenis Almanzar or Almanzar.
Oh, is it DJ Khaled?
DJ Khaled is incorrect. It's Cardi B.
Oof.
Ah.
This is tough questions.
Yeah. Got to make it challenging. We're not.
Remind me.
In podcasting for a reason.
Remind me to approach you when we need a quizmaster for our trivia night.
Will do. Anyway, question 7. Published in 1859, who wrote On the Origin of Species?
Sharps.
Sharps.
Charles Darwin.
Charles Darwin is correct.
Yeah.
It's leveled up. It's 2-2, and it's time for our Who Am I question.
Oh.
It's going to make or break it.
Is this the last question?
Yeah, this is the last question, but we're going to go down from 5 points all the way down to 1 point with a series of clues. 1 clue for each level of points. And once you've buzzed in and you get it wrong, you can't go again until the other person gets it wrong. So I'll go straight into it for 5 points. I was born in Ballarat on the 17th of August, 1953. I'll move it on. For 4 points. Usually as a defender, I played 174 VFL games between 1972 and 1983. That's when the VFL was the top league, of course. I'll move it on. For 3 points, I've been involved in 4 VFL AFL premierships, one of which was as a Richmond player in 1980. Anyone want to have a go, or should I move it on?
Move on.
I'll move on. For 2 points, I'm a 2-time All-Australian coach and have coached 2 teams to premierships.
Oh, Jackson.
Jackson, have a crack.
Is it Mick Malthouse?
That's what I was going to say. I hope so. I hope
Malthouse is
not.
correct.
Damn.
I thought it'd have a link between Carlton and Collingwood. I was thinking, I was really thinking, I was like, in the 80s, BT or
Can we do a redo? Can we edit this down? Go again?
Anyway, I think that wraps up the quiz. It's 4-2 to Jackson. So
I don't like losing. I don't like losing.
can't be a sore loser, Sharps. You got top of the chin, mate.
We'll get you on again sometime for another one.
All right, round two. I'm going to write that down. So I'll just.
Oh, definitely. When the season gets back on, we'll get a Carlton update, and we'll get you back on for another quiz.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Jackson's been invincible recently. He hasn't lost one for about a month, I reckon.
I think since that Scott McDonald one, I think I've just sort of tried to get back into it. That was an
8-0 loss. Jeez, that was shocking. But should we talk about a giveaway, Jackson, before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, let's go for it.
We'll keep you on, Charles, because you're an Everton fan. So we've actually got, I'll show it to you on the camera. We're on Zoom. So we've got, it's 2019-20 Everton home kit signed by the whole team. Up for grabs. It can be yours for free. All you have to do is give us a mention on our social medias. Tag us in a post on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. So on Facebook, we're at Where Do We Begin? And on Twitter and Instagram, we're at WDWB Pod. So give us a mention. Make sure we can see it. Make sure you're public. And say you want the Everton shirt, and then you're automatically entered into the competition. So we'll be announcing the winner of that on the next Extra podcast in 2 weeks' time. But Jackson, before we wrap it up, do you want to give our plug to our social medias? I've already mentioned them, but do you want to go again?
Yeah, so we're on Twitter and Instagram at WDWB Pod, and Facebook, obviously. Where do we begin? We have a Patreon.
Yeah, we actually had a couple members join last week, or 2 weeks ago, I think, but we're at patreon.com/WDWB Pod. And if you want to get in touch with us on email, we're wheredowebeginpod@gmail.com. If you want to get your music on the show or anything like that, get in touch with us. And I think that should wrap us up because it's been a long one. So cheers for coming on, Sharps and Jackson.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Thanks so much, mate.
Yeah, hopefully I walk away with the Everton top. Anyone that does win it, just put it up for sale and I'll buy it off you.
All right, guys, we'll see you next Monday with another huge episode.